The morning sun streamed through the glass windows of Randall Enterprises, casting golden light across polished floors and buzzing workstations. Employees hurried about, clutching files and typing furiously, eager to keep pace with the demands of the day. At the center of it all stood Mr. Randall, the boss everyone feared. Tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a flawless gray suit, his reputation for arrogance was matched only by his sharp tongue. His employees knew one mistake could draw his wrath. That morning, his gaze fell on David, a quiet, hard-working employee who had been with the company for months. David's reports were neat, his effort undeniable, but Randall didn't see dedication, only flaws. "David." Randall's voice cut across the office. "What is this mess?" He slammed a file onto the desk, pages scattering. Dozens of eyes turned toward them. David swallowed hard. "Sir, You call this work? Incompetence. That's what it is." Randall sneered. His words dripped with disdain, each syllable meant to humiliate. The room fell silent. David, cheeks burning, gathered his belongings without protest. His dignity remained intact, though his heart ached. With quiet resolve, he walked out the door. What Randall didn't know was that this exit was only the beginning. The office buzz slowly returned after David's departure, but the sting of the scene lingered. Some employees exchanged uneasy glances, whispering about the humiliation they had just witnessed. Yet no one dared to speak up. Randall's temper was legend, and silence was safer than sympathy. David walked out of the glass doors into the crisp morning air, his leather briefcase in hand. His heart was heavy, but his steps were steady. The sting of Randall's words echoed in his ears, but beneath the pain was a quiet strength. He had endured worse in life, and this dismissal, though cruel, was not the end of his story. Later that evening, David sat in his modest apartment, looking over old notes, contracts, and business plans he had kept from before joining Randall Enterprises. He thought of the sacrifices he'd made, the experience he'd gained, and the opportunities waiting ahead. Meanwhile, back at the company, Randall sat smugly in his office, pouring himself a glass of whiskey. "One less dead weight," he muttered to himself. To him, firing David was nothing more than routine. But the winds of fortune were shifting. Unbeknownst to Randall, the man he had dismissed would soon return not as an employee, but as someone far more powerful. Week later, Randall Enterprises was abuzz with unusual tension. Rumors spread quickly, whispers of a major new investor about to visit the company. Employees straightened their desks, polished presentations, and rehearsed greetings. Everyone wanted to make a good impression. Randall, of course, was thrilled. He saw investors as stepping stones to more power and prestige. He adjusted his silk tie in the mirror, grinning at his own reflection. "Let's see who's wise enough to put money into my empire," he said with smug confidence. When the elevator doors finally opened, the room stilled. Out stepped a familiar figure, David. No longer in his modest work attire, he wore a sharp navy suit, his posture firm, his eyes calm yet commanding. The boardroom was unusually quiet, the polished table reflecting the tension in the air. Randall sat stiffly at the head of the table, his usual authority slipping through his clenched fists. Across from him, David leaned back comfortably, his calm presence commanding more respect than Randall's bark ever had. The board members shuffled their papers, eager to hear from the new investor. David spoke first, his voice steady and clear. "This company has potential," he began, "but it suffers from one critical flaw: leadership poisoned by arrogance." His eyes shifted directly to Randall. A murmur spread through the room. Randall's jaw tightened. "Careful with your words," he snapped, his voice strained. But David didn't flinch. "I was careful, Randall. When I worked here, I saw how you treated people like they were disposable. I was one of them. You believed firing me would—" The silence in the boardroom felt heavy, every eye fixed on David and Randall. Randall's once booming confidence had shrunk into a stiff posture, his face pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but David raised a hand gently, commanding the room. "This company doesn't just need money," David said firmly. "It needs respect for its people, for its vision, and for its future. I invested because I see potential. But potential dies under tyranny. His gaze lingered on Randall, sharp but calm. A true leader builds others up. You tear them down. The board members nodded, some openly applauding. Randall clenched his fists, his pride burning, but his authority had been stripped away. David stood, his voice echoing with finality. This is not revenge, Randall. This is a lesson. Power doesn't come from a title, it comes from how you treat those around you. Remember that, if you want to remain a part of this company's future. The room erupted in agreement. Randall slumped back in his chair, defeated and humbled. David walked out with quiet dignity, leaving behind not just an investment, but a lasting truth. Respect is the greatest capital any leader can earn. Sparkles, if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Echo Resistance. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories that remind us of the true value of respect.